Our last topic of discussion is Empower or Enable a Mother's Journey Parenting a Child with Narcolepsy. Our speaker is Suzanne Rispoli. She's a Wake Up Narcolepsy board member and a parent of a child with narcolepsy. Suzanne is a working mom of 4 children, ages 11, 14, 16, and 17. Andrew, her 16-year-old, was diagnosed with narcolepsy and cataplexy at the age of 9. She has run the Boston Marathon, raising thousands of dollars for Wake Up Narcolepsy to support research to find a cure for her son and others impacted by this underfunded disorder. Please welcome Suzanne Rispoli.
So I'm going to try to wake everyone up a bit. Is there someone in the room that does not have narcolepsy? Can you raise your hand? All right, Monica. You do not. All right. Are you lazy sometimes? Are you unmotivated sometimes? Okay. Someone that does have narcolepsy, raise your hand. Here. Yes. Are you lazy sometimes? Are you unmotivated sometimes? Okay, all right. Do you think it has everything to do with narcolepsy? Majority, but is there a slight chance? Nothing? 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 Just, we're human, right? Right? We all get unmotivated. We're all lazy at some point. So what I'm here to talk about today is really, my journey as a mother with a son, diagnosed at the age of 9 with narcolepsy. He is now 16. I have gone through the last 6 years trying to balance, really, when do I help him, and when do I empower him? Okay? It's a fine line with someone, or with a child especially, that has, an illness at a young age, right? And, as parents and as a mother like I am, you want to be that mother bear, and you want to just take over, and you want your child to just not experience any pain whatsoever, any discomfort, and you just go full force ahead when you realize that something's wrong with them. So the way I'd like to just frame this discussion, so everybody could get out of here a little quicker, is I'm going to tell you a little bit about my journey, and through that I'm going to focus on 3 areas where I think, through Andrew and I's story, there's a little bit of an, enablement, and as well as now more empowerment for him to live a successful life with his condition. One of them being medical and physical, personal care and responsibility. Second being school education, sports. And the third being really social and family. And how do you deal with that going forward as he becomes a father and family, has one of his own. So Andrew, his symptoms came on all of a sudden 7 years ago, and we were lucky because he, within 3 months, with the kind of mother that I am, I don't take no for an answer, and I know my son. So after many doctors flying coast to coast, and people telling me he has a conversion disorder, he has a mental disorder, there's nothing wrong with him, the whole gamut of testing. We basically came out to CHOP in New Jersey, in Philly, and they left us with nothing after 3 months. And it happened to be a snowstorm on Halloween, and they said, you're going to have to go back to California and just, try to get a sleep study if that's what you think he has, but, he's going to look like he has cerebral palsy, because that's what I determined when he walked and talked, the cataplexy, how he presented himself. and you're just going to have him at homeschooled because he sleeps 20 hours a day. So we got lucky. Someone canceled on a sleep study because of a huge snowstorm in October in New Jersey. It's unlikely. And we got in, and before he even went to the sleep study, his doctor, Dr. Carol Marcus, who has passed away, said before he even goes in, I see him right now, and I could tell you about my salary on it. He has narcolepsy with cataplexy. He doesn't even need to go through the MSLT. So with that, he failed the sleep study. They sent his spinal fluid, did the blood test, and they confirmed 100% that he had narcolepsy with cataplexy. So we were away from our family in California for about 3 months trying to get him diagnosed. So coming back from a family dynamic perspective, we were trying to get him medicated, get him stabilized. The other children who were 10 and under didn't really understand what was going on, but they knew Andrew just wasn't quite right. So, we spent a good, I'd say, year trying to get him, to a point from a medication perspective that he looked normal, right? He finally presented himself, not sleeping all the time. He still had to take naps. He didn't slur his speech anymore. He, had a little bit of a droopy eye every now and again, but when he laughed, he could laugh a little bit without having, the full-blown head bob, cataplexy. So we thought we were in a good place. But what I had also found is that I had now become his full-time caretaker, right? From the medication at night and in the morning, and the regulator of naps, right, for probably a good 5 years. So waking him up in the morning, and I'm sure most parents that are in the room that have children, setting your alarm for 1 o'clock in the morning to give him that Xyrem. And when does that end, right? When does the labor and the physical end of taking care of your child to start to pass to them, right? So, having all of that put on to us and then saying, when are they able to do this on their own? I struggled with that. The locking of the medicine, the fear that someone else in the house would get it, and then him just missing, medication. God, he goes to school, he misses his medication, he could fall, he could hurt himself, the cataplexy is really bad. So slowly this last year, we had started to let him take his own medicine in the morning. And I would check his pills in the morning. If he didn't take it, the school had extra. Okay, giving him a little bit of leeway. Also this year, I finally gave him the code to the safe. I felt comfortable enough that, look, he's gonna lock it. He needs to make his medicine at night. This is not my job. He's 15, 16 years old. So if he doesn't make his medicine or doesn't take it, he will feel the pain the next day, right? Yes, he could fall asleep. Yes, he could have some cataplexy, but he's got to fail. He's got to fail a little bit because I can't always be there. So we've been trying this for a good 6 months, and Andrew has been doing a very good job of taking personal ownership of his medications and keeping his physical responsibilities with naps and getting up in the morning, to some degree. He does slip up, but in my opinion, they need to fail at some point to know what the impact is, because I'm not going to be there when he's 22 and he misses going to work. So, to give you an example for school and sports, we had struggled a lot. Andrew loves football. It's his favorite sport. Seattle Seahawks, loves it. When we started freshman year, he was on the freshman team. We had told his coach he had narcolepsy. We tried to explain what it was. Put him in the game, let him play. They didn't understand that the endurance of a child with narcolepsy is a lot different than one that does not. So in one game that we had went to go see, one of the coaches put him in the game. They didn't have enough players, and he had tapped his helmet that he needed to come out to rest. And one of the coaches said, "Rispoli, get back in there. Get back in there, and this is not a time to rest. You know, don't let your team down." And part of me is, wow, you know, who am I going to talk to now? Who am I going to go strangle over? Can I march on that field and, you know, smack somebody on the side of the head? So in talking to Andrew, Andrew said I had to come out. I said my legs were giving out and I could have got hurt. Okay. Had to have a discussion with the coach, how to bring everybody together. You know, from a team perspective, socially, now everybody thinks he's not a team player, right? So next year in football, he starts up again. We made sure all the coaches are aware of what he can and can't do. The doctor has cleared him to play football. And he starts, and they do not put him in one game. In fact, they don't even put him in practice, pretty much. And the coach does put him in for one play during a practice. And Andrew does have memory issues. He has, you know, doesn't have a lot of sleep, and he tries his best to pay attention. And the one coach said, he asked, "Can you remind me what this play is?" when he put him in. And the coach says, "Andrew, if you can't remember," he goes, "why don't you take up swimming instead? I don't think football is your sport." And all this kid wants to do is play. All he wants to do is be part of a team. So, again, you know, the mother bear in me, he comes home silent, doesn't say anything. He says, "I think I need to tell you something." He embarrassed me in front of the team, told me that I basically should quit football and take up swimming. So we went into the coach, and we had this conversation with the school, and the school said, you know, they would deal with it. The next day, word got out to not only the other coaches, but to the students. So my daughter had come up to me and said, "Hey, I heard Andrew's getting the coaches in trouble, and that they're all getting reprimanded." Okay. Then I also heard the next practice that one coach came in with duct tape on his mouth and said, everybody was asking, including the kids, "Why do you got duct tape on your mouth, coach?" He says, "Well, I'm afraid to say anything now because I might get in trouble." Needless to say, that coach got fired. However, Andrew needed me, right? Needed us to get involved, and still continues to go out for the team like he did this year. So this year, as it came up, he's in his junior year. He went to every preseason practice, and the head coach said, "I don't think we have your medical form updated." And he said, "No, I had a physical in September. It's good till September." He goes, "No." He goes, "I'm not letting you pick equipment. I'm not letting you do a thing." He goes, "Go back home and don't come back till you get a physical." So Andrew picked him up. I took him right to the doctor. I got him a physical, and I made sure that that physical said he was cleared to play, that he had narcolepsy, cleared to play. And Andrew said to me in the car, "You know, I don't think I want to play football anymore." And I said, "You know what? That's your choice." I said, "And you know, do you want me to get involved?" And he said, "No." He said, he goes, "I'm going to go in and tell the coach that, you know," I said, "What I want you to do is put the form in front of him and tell him I am cleared to play. I can play." So Andrew went in and said he doesn't want to play football. He has to focus on his schoolwork, which is true. And the coach's response was, football is just as important as schoolwork, and was disappointed, and he goes, "Why would you give me these forms that you could play if you were going to just quit anyway?" So anyway, Andrew did step up. I did not have to go in and quit for him. But, it's an unfortunate situation that, schools and coaches and administration still don't understand narcolepsy, and they make it difficult for not only for parents but for children to succeed, in extracurricular activities. So, but Andrew is learning, and he's happy that he is not in football anymore, and he's taking music lessons instead. So, he still likes the Seahawks, so he'll still watch it. Now, from a social and family perspective, I think it's kind of hard in the beginning, because when he's first diagnosed, Andrew was really skinny. And contrary to what I've heard, sometimes the medication makes you gain weight. Well, Andrew was severely underweight. He was, I think, 65 pounds at 9 years old. And Dr. Marcus said, "We don't care how he gains weight. Feed him milkshakes. Feed him burgers, milkshakes." So I'm sitting here with my 3 other children, and I've got one kid, with milkshakes and cookies and whatever his heart desires, and the other one's just not understanding what I'm doing. So that piece of it, they don't understand, right? Young kids don't understand why I'm treating this child different, especially since he does look and act normal, except he's a little angry all the time. So one of the things that I've done to help my other children understand is, last year, I think a year and a half ago, I told my story, our journey, Andrew, a little bit more detail about his getting diagnosed with narcolepsy and what we had to go through and what Andrew had to go through. And I let my other children, for the first time, watch that video and hear what he had to go through and what we had to go through. And out of the other 3 kids, I had 2 of them in tears. And they said they just never knew. And it hit home that, this condition is, something he has. It might not present itself all the time, but they recognize that he is special, and that they need to fight for him and watch out for him. So they don't look at any kind of preferential treatment for him getting able to sleep in or be late for school being something that's over and above and beyond. So from a social perspective, it's difficult. It's really difficult for Andrew, being diagnosed so young at 9, to have and make friends. He feels different. And he does much better in groups, right? So football, anything in a group, he does well in. When he gets one-on-one with people and, trying to go out to the movies, or, I think he's scared about the cataplexy. He's scared about, falling asleep. And then the one thing that he tells me is, "I don't want people to know. I don't want people to know." Why would you tell somebody if I look normal? Why am I going to tell somebody something's wrong with me? So there's a balance that I have to teach him as to, there are things that you need to tell your close friends or people that do get close to you about your condition, but maybe you don't tell a whole group of people. But he's not there yet. I asked him to come today to hear me speak, and he was excited and said, "I have never heard you speak. I'd love to hear what you have to say." And this morning he said he's tired and he didn't think he wanted to go. So maybe he's not ready. But we have done certain things socially to help him get out of his room and get out of his bubble. Things that I have put in place for him that are available for him. We have someone gave me advice to do a social learning group, which is not just for narcoleptics, but it's for any teens that have problems with social interactions. And I think that works well for someone like Andrew, because he does have a little bit anger issues, because he is irritable from not being rested. So I think that does play over into his social skills at school, where he's maybe a little bit abrupt with people, or quick to respond, or maybe not normal and easy, laid back and easygoing type of personality. So he meets with a group of 4 other boys that are in high school that struggle too. So there's a safety net that he has there for him. He has a therapist that's available to him whenever he feels like talking, whenever he doesn't want to talk to me, which is probably never wants to talk to me because he's afraid I'm going to go ruin his life, at school, or blow something up like I normally do. But it's available to him. So what I have learned is I have put a lot of things in place for my son, and all of these things are available to him. And I'm pivoting right now from being an enabler to that empower, right? And to give you an example of letting him fail, right? Because my son, let me be honest, he was going to come up here and say, yeah, Mom, I am a little lazy. So he had a summer class he needed to take to make up some credits, because he has a study hall to do homework in that's part of his plan. And they needed him to take an online class. And he had all summer to do it. All summer. 1 class online. He didn't complete it on time. So I said to him, well, what are you going to do? Oh, well, I needed more time. You had the whole summer, He's like, well, I guess I got to go talk to the counselor. I said, I guess you do. I said, so why don't you go talk to your counselor and your case manager and tell me what the plan is. So, and that's what he did. He went, talked to them. They said he can complete it over the winter break and submit it for a grade. But normally, I would have been the one to call and say, oh my God, he failed that class. What could we do? Let me, does he get this grade? And panic. Instead, I just, whatever it may be, if you failed this class, that's on you. And, the thing is I'm not going to be there, right? And the way that I look at things is he, like everyone else in this world, there are many people that have things wrong with them. And they have to look forward. They can't look behind. They have to look forward and say, how am I going to adapt? And I loved Nicole, and I don't know if she's still here, but, the world doesn't adapt to you. You have to change the way you are to be successful. You have to change the way you live to be successful. So, if there's something that I can leave, any of the kids in the room or the parents is, there's got to be a point where you start to let your kids fail, even with narcolepsy. I let all other 3 kids fail a lot sooner than I did Andrew. But he's going to be more successful, I believe, in taking care of himself and in taking care of a family and living a life with a job, if he fails sooner. Because I'm here to pick him up. I'm here to tell him, you see, now let's do it right. So, and any questions?